You know what I think is the final boss of laser engraving? Stuff like this. It's beautiful, it's technical, and even though I don't see myself becoming a gun engraver, my goal is to get to that level. But getting there, that's gonna take some serious reps. Design, layout, settings, cleanup, and finishing work. It's a whole thing. Now sure, I could just go buy some blank gun slides online, but those things are expensive and I'm not ready to drop that kind of money just for practice. So I found the workaround, a much cheaper way to practice designing and engraving gun slides. I use the air quotes because they're not real slides, but they're perfect for learning. I'm going to show you how I get affordable practice slides custom made, and I'll even give you my template file if you want to get some made for yourself. First, let me show you the practice slides. So this is what I have left from my last order. On the left-hand side here, I have 304 stainless steel. And you can see I kind of made it, I designed it to be roughly the same size as a standard gun slide. I have the little fake ejection port here, so you have to design around it and lay out your graphics. I had this tumbled, so it's nice and smooth. It has a really nice even finish. It feels nice. There's no sharp edges or anything on it. And once you shine this up after you're done engraving, it really, really looks nice. You can get a nice mirror finish on this. And it's about, it's 3.2 millimeters thick, so roughly 1/8 of an inch. And over here I have same design, but this is anodized aluminum, so the same as those little cards that we always engrave on. You can get aluminum made, which is cheaper than the stainless steel, and then you can have them anodized several different colors. I went just with matte black because I want to practice on here before I engrave anything on my actual gun itself, which is a similar finish, and that way I could test out, make sure font sizes are good, make sure that things are legible before I go ahead and mark up my own gun slide, which would be much more expensive to replace if I did something wrong. And for today's engraving project, we're going to run on one of the stainless steel slides, but before we get started, let me show you the website I use to get these made.
The place I use to get these made is called Send Cut Send. It's one of these custom parts manufacturer websites. I have no affiliation at all. It's just something that I personally use for a lot of different projects over the years. There are a bunch of these out there, but I don't have any experience with the other ones. So let me show you how this works. Once you make an account, you'll have this section here where you can upload the file that I created. You can see some of the other parts that I've made over the years. I do use this site quite a lot. So let's upload. Once you finish the upload, you'll get to this screen here. It'll ask you to confirm the units. So it should say 6.496 times 3. Leave it at inch for now. I found that if I switched it to millimeter, it doesn't work. So just leave it at inch, even if you're not going to be using inches. I'm going to click confirm. Next screen, it's going to ask you to choose your material. So we're going to click on metals. And then you have a bunch of different metal options here. Some are more expensive than others. So if you wanted to go the cheapest route, you would want to stick with aluminum. Then go to mild steel, so steel down here, and then up to stainless steel. And above that, copper, brass, and titanium are much more expensive. So the one that I have here that I'm doing in the video is the 304 stainless steel. And I also, again, I have the anodized aluminum, so this was the cheapest option here. So let's click on stainless steel. I'm going to click on 304 because that's the cheaper one. Now, as far as the thickness goes, this is really up to you. So the thinner material that you choose, the less expensive it's going to be. But some of the thinner materials don't have certain options available. So I did a tumbling phase so it tumbled my part to make it nice and smooth. It's not required, but to do something like that, you need to choose at least 3.2 millimeter thickness. So I will choose that one. And then it's going to start to show you some pricing on the right-hand side here, but we're not done selecting our options yet, so don't go off of this pricing. I'm going to click on next. Now, if you look over at the left-hand side, you can see a little 3D rendering, but we just have a completely flat part right now. We need to add some bends. So I'm going to come over here and click on bending. I'm going to make sure both of these are changed to down. And then we're going to put 90 degrees into both here. So it's going to give you this little warning saying, hey, you might deform the part a little bit, but we understand that and we click OK. And you want to change both of these to 90 degrees down. Now, if you look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that our part is taking shape, and it looks like a little slide now. Okay, and then once you're done that, I'm going to click Next. Here's where you get to choose which kind of finishing options you want. So if you want what I have here, this is tumbled. So it's just going to smooth out the edges and give it a slightly more unified finish. But it's not required, and it does cost more money. So I'll show you what the difference is here. So if we click on tumbling, you start to see the pricing come alive here. So if you only order one, it's not that cheap. It's like 34 bucks. But if you start ordering more than one into the quantities of 2 to 10, it really starts to knock that price down. But if you were to take off tumbling and just do deburring, the price would come down a little bit more. And if you do no finish at all, the price comes down even more. So I'm going to stick with tumbling. Make sure that my 3D view here is still looking correct. And then once you start adding the quantity up here, it'll start to show you the discounted pricing. So if you get 5 of them, it comes out to about $18 each. If you were to get like 25 of them, it comes down to about $12 each. So still costs a little bit of money, but it's much cheaper than buying actual slides. Let's go back and check the pricing on aluminum, see how much cheaper it is here. So I'm going to go with the most common type of aluminum. We'll go with a slightly thinner material. And yeah, you can see here, this is already going to be quite a bit cheaper. Do some deburring. So this is where you could choose some anodizing or powder coating. They have a couple different colors. That's how I got this one here. So this is a matte black anodized. But yeah, if you just choose deburring and no anodization, no powder coating, it's about one for about 17 bucks. And once you start ordering more than one, like if you were to order 5 of these, they're about $11 each. So aluminum is going to be the most affordable option for sure. And then once you're done selecting your material and your finish, you just go ahead and add it to cart. Moving over into LightBurn, let's take a look at the graphics I designed for our engravings today. So each section you're looking at here corresponds to a different place on our fake gun slide. Starting with the bottom side down here, we have a little eagle, Justin Laser, and then Fiber Laser Ignite, which is the name of my new beginner crash course for how to use a fiber laser in LightBurn, which is now open if you so wish to check it out. Moving up into this edge banding area here. That's going to go along the, where's my slide here? Along the edges here. Then up above that, we have the top of the slide, which is this fun little snake motif that I designed. I'm really proud of this one. And then on the back side here, we have a longer edge banding. And you'll notice that there is one more side to our slide, but I have not figured out what I want to put on there yet. So once I do, I'll post it to social media, but that's to be determined. So we're only going to do 2 main sides and then the 2 edge sides today. Okay. So I have one big issue right off the bat that I have to solve for, and that is my designs are too large for my workspace. So I'm using my 150 millimeter lens. That means that I have a 150 by 150 boundary, and that's the square grid in the background that you're looking at. And you can see that my graphics are hanging off of the edge left and right. So if I were to engrave this as is, well, I'm cutting off a good portion of my design. So I have 2 options here. One, I can try rotating all of my graphics to like a 45-degree angle like this and fitting them inside of my workspace and hoping that my lens can reach these outer bounds and keep a nice engraving. Or I can try splitting the graphics in half and then engraving them as two different pieces and then hoping I can connect them. And since we're just playing around today, I'm going to try both of these options. I'm going to try splitting the big graphics in half, or splitting them right down the middle in the ejection port area here. I'm going to engrave them separately and try to line them up. I've been meaning to try this out because I really want to engrave a full like a full bleed design on like a sword or something, and a sword is much larger than the workspace, so I would have to break my graphics up into many different sections and try to link them up when I'm framing. So I want to see how that works. And I think for the other ones, for these smaller, for this edge band here, this one up here, I'm going to rotate 45 degrees and run the engraving, because I'm not as concerned about this. And if for some reason my laser doesn't perform well towards the outer edges here, I don't care. I just want to see how it works. So let me show you how we're going to do that. What I ended up doing was splitting both of these graphics here at an area where I think if I'm off by a little bit, it's not going to be super noticeable. So let me show you. I made two other versions down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to engrave this side, and then I'm going to line this side up right next to it like this. And try to connect it while I'm engraving. We'll see how that goes. Same thing for my bottom one here. I'm going to engrave the first side there, and then I'm going to frame this one right up against the edge here like this. And then hopefully when I engrave, and the final result will just be completely seamless. And that way I can easily fit both pieces into my 150 by 150 workspace without turning it to a 45-degree angle. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm going to start with the side graphic here. I have two tooling layers set up so I can align my artwork on the slide. And then I also have my engraving and cleaning settings. For more details on the settings that I'm using, I'm going to post all of that information on the blog post that is going to correspond with this project. So that is linked in the video description below. I'll give you all the settings that I used and my rationale about them. So let me move this section off of my workspace. So LightBurn completely disregards it. I'm going to move this one over. Let's take a look at our preview. Everything's looking good. I don't see any weird stuff going on. All right, so we're gonna set everything up in the laser. I'm just gonna go straight through, and we will come out the other side and see how it went. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making it. I also learned a couple things during this engraving process. I made a few stupid little errors, and I hope to clean those up for the next round, but hey, that's why we practice, right? If you want to have some of these dummy slides made up for yourself, ordering from Send Cut Send or any of the other sites that do this type of thing, there's a link to the blog post, on my website in the description for this video, and inside of that blog post, you'll find a link for the .eps file to download. All you have to do is download that file, upload it to Send Cut Send, and run through the same process we did earlier in the video, and they'll ship these right out to you. I went one step further. If you don't have a design to try out, I'm also going to give away this SVG file that you see on the screen here. So I imported this SVG file that I designed. So instead of having you engrave my name on your dummy slide, I just mirrored the top snake graphic to the bottom here. So it'd be a double snake graphic engraving. And if you want to try this out, and you're doing it in LightBurn, I need you to do something first. You're going to want to come up to your settings, your LightBurn settings, over to the Import Export tab, and then make sure under SVG imports, you have 72 DPI Illustrator turned on before you import the SVG file that I made, because I made this in Illustrator and I want to make sure it's to scale. So make sure you click on 72 DPI before you import the file. Once the file is imported, you'll see a couple things. One, you'll have the design in black fill, and then you'll have these two yellow lines. What I want you to do is use those for tooling lines. So the outside one is going to be the outer bounds of the metal, and then I have one on the inside here, which is going to be the bounds of your design. So you can use those tooling layers to line up where your design's going to go. You can select it by holding down, selecting the layer up in the layers panel, holding shift, clicking on it, and then clicking T1 or T2 to move that to a tooling layer. If anything I just mentioned there went over your head, but you're still interested in learning how to engrave like this, shameless self-promotion time. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I just launched my course, Fiber Laser Ignite, which is a beginner crash course on how to use your fiber laser in LightBurn to give you a nice solid foundation. And we cover a lot of the stuff that we went through today. If you want to learn more about that, you can find a link in the video description below. I would love to have you. In any case, enjoy the downloads, and I hope to see you next time. See you later.